Now imagine this, you're an Amazon seller right now doing about $50 million per year in sales. You've got a warehouse, you've got a big operation, you've invested very heavily, and all of a sudden Amazon suspends your account and they suspend it for 10 days. This basically means they're not going to let you get money out of your account that you've earned through the sales of your products. You as an operation, you've got bills to pay, staff to pay, overheads, you've got loan interest that needs to be paid on lending facilities, and 10 days, by the way, in a big operation doing 50, 60 million a year is a lot of time. It basically causes your business to have a lot of financial problems. This is exactly what happened to Amazon Lit. They announced this on X, this is only a couple of days ago, and they decided to leave. You would always think that the bigger you get, the safer you are. And unfortunately, in the Amazon space, this isn't the case. Let's just also have a look at Google Trends data. If you are a course seller or a guru, you might call me one. The idea is that we're interested in more people looking for Amazon FBA to want to sell, so obviously we can offer our services and our courses. What happens if the Google Trend data going down? Before we jump into all of those, what actually happens with business and how it grows and where it causes a problem and why many people are stopping Amazon selling, maybe going bankrupt as well. You've got to understand how businesses scale, and for that, I want to explain to you the 4 levels of growth. Now, the 4 levels of growth come from VC legend Naval Ravikant, guy who grew up middle class in India and moved to the US and became a billionaire. He started AngelList, absolutely amazing company. He talks about the 4 levels of growth. So the first one is the oldest one. It's called labor. For example, if you're running a Facebook ads agency or a PPC agency, for you to grow your business, you are going to have to get new clients. And each client generally needs someone to service them and do the work. So you basically hire more staff. If you want to double the revenue, you need to really double the headcount. That's the way it works. It's the oldest form of labor, and it's the one we all know, and the one that your parents are most interested by, and the ones they're most impressed by. What happens if Facebook all of a sudden bans your account, or Amazon bans your ad account? Your revenue dies while you've still got salaries to pay. And under law, if you're going to let people go, you've got to let them go with severance and all these other things, and you've invested a lot of time and energy. It's really hard to scale down labor leverage, people, when your revenue scales down or gets turned off by Facebook or Amazon. It's a really dangerous form of leverage. Just be mindful, but it is the oldest one. Now, the second form of leverage is called capital. This is exactly how Amazon works. In Amazon, you're buying products cheap to resell high for a profit. And what you're doing is you're basically turning money into stock, putting that stock into Amazon, selling it to get the money back and repeating the cycle. What happens if you want to scale your business? Well, obviously, you're going to need more stock to sell. How do you get more stock? You get more money, more capital. When you don't have more money lying around, you go get lending, debt, credit lines, credit cards. And so therefore, you are now cycling this money through. But what happens if Amazon turns off that money machine that gives you your money back? Well, all of a sudden, you cannot pay back your debt, your lending, your interest. And that causes big problems for you and your business. And this is how you have problems within capital-based businesses. You're cycling this money through, and all of a sudden that gets turned off. Your business can now all of a sudden be held hostage behind an investigation that originally was 72 hours by Amazon, now all of a sudden drags on to 10, 1 month, even a whole quarter by Amazon, and we've seen it before. Now, the third base of leverage, which I think is important to talk about, is code. This is a great one. Think of software or AI services. You basically pay AWS by the minute. You think about it as kind of like they're little workers, digital workers who do work for you in code. If you have lots of subscribers for your software, for example, and what if you lose half those subscribers? Well, don't worry, you simply spin down the servers. You can shrink your cost base very quickly when the revenue decreases. Great thing about code is it's elastic. It's resilient. You've got no layoffs, no bailouts. It doesn't matter. And the fourth and the final one is networks. A podcast like this YouTube channel, a TikTok channel, a newsletter, email newsletter. All these things are basically the audience grows and you can scale up and you really have a very low cost base because you're using distribution networks to help you monetize. So if Amazon tomorrow or YouTube tomorrow, as we say, demonetizes my YouTube channel, it's going to be a pain. Tom's not going to be able to splash out on some new black t-shirts. But the idea is it's probably not going to be the end of the world. I don't really have any costs to this. And the only things that I bought are the black t-shirts and the cameras. That's about it. So a small team, a small cost that can scale up and down very quickly. So it doesn't make a big difference. Labor and capital, especially capital when we're talking about lending leverage, are our oldest growth levers. And they carry rigid costs that keep billing us even when the revenue falls. code and networks don't. They rarely break, and when they do, we can scale down very quickly to adjust very rapidly. Now let's come back to the question in hand. Is Amazon dead? Because you might be asking the question, so many sellers have quit. My God, even one of the top 10 sellers within the Amazon marketplace has decided to call it a day. If you have cash right now to invest in your business, Amazon is amazing. If you look at the Google Trends data, less people are starting. But for some weird reason, Amazon's getting bigger. So that means there's going to be less people joining and more revenue to be made. So this basically means competition is going to go down, which means potentially more profits for you. But everyone's going to hear the horror stories. Everyone's going to be aware that Amazon is a dangerous place to sell. And you're right. Once you start buying for 10, selling for 20, you're going to start making money. That's great. And then you want to scale this business, and you're going to start thinking about using leverage and debt. But here's where you need to be careful. And here's where so many people have lost so much money. They've basically taken on too much debt that when they have a problem in their Amazon business, and by the way, Amazon just makes problems up. They do things wrong so many times that stop your repayments. If you can't pay back that interest, it's going to bankrupt you. And so for you, when you're thinking about scaling, sure, take on some debt, take on some leverage, but don't over leverage yourself. Don't be crazy, because if you do that, the problem comes is that it's not if, it's when that problem happens. You might not be able to afford to pay your lending, and so therefore the lenders call the loans, and so therefore your business has to go into liquidation. And this is what's happened to so many people, and they've just gotten scared. But does this mean that Amazon is a bad opportunity? Not at all. If anything, because the number of people interested in Amazon is going down, but yet Amazon's revenue is still growing, i.e. the marketplace is still growing, I think this is a great time because there's going to be less competition and there's going to be more money for that less competition to make. So understand that. Now, the only thing I will add to this is the one thing you probably will notice, which will be really good. There'll be a lot less gurus trying to sell you courses, services, and everything else, which is going to be great because it basically just means less people are going to do it, less competition for you if you want to get selling, and you're going to be able to make more money. In this business, the way to scale it is capital. That is the moat that we create because it makes it a lot harder for other people to start. But we've got to be careful about how we grow that with not too much leverage, because if it turns off the taps, we're going to have big problems. So is Amazon dead? Is it the end of the world? Not at all. But the era of doing sloppy scaling, whether it be arbitrage, wholesale, or anything, on six-figure credit cards, that funeral has already ended. And that's a good thing to understand. Now, the one thing I'll say to the final point to you is everyone thinks about scaling this Amazon business is about getting more money. And this is the danger. If you don't have solid margins, more money won't solve that problem. If anything, it'll create you bigger problems. I know this. I've been there myself. How do you improve margins? Better deal analysis. That is it. So that is why I'm going to share around here a video I recorded about how to analyze keeper charts so that you guys can do better analysis, get it right, and buy better, which means you don't need as much money to make more profit than you ever thought possible. But hey, if you like this video, give me a thumbs up. And if you want to subscribe, hit the subscribe button.